I found out she lied to me while I was fixing her damn kitchen light. You ever have one of those moments where the truth hits you so hard, it makes everything, the walls, the air, even your own skin, feel like it's shrinking? That was me, standing on a chair in her apartment, one hand holding a cheap LED bulb, the other gripping a ceiling fixture that hadn't been touched in years. My name's Elliot Carter, 26. I work in commercial architecture, not the glamorous kind. I'm the guy who stares at cracked drywall in coffee chains or reviews blueprint errors in supermarket walk-ins while corporate yells deadlines into my inbox. Life's been a functional, predictable, until her. Natalie Vincent, the woman who taught music in the same downtown office complex I worked in. Blonde, warm smile, too many cardigans. She moved like she heard a melody no one else could. We met during a fire drill. She thought I was HR. I told her I was the guy they blamed when the air conditioner broke. We laughed, walked, and kept walking. For months, I loved her. I never told her that out loud. But she knew. One Friday evening, months into whatever we were, she called, said her kitchen light flickered out and asked if I could swing by. I had a client email due in 2 hours and a splitting migraine from 7 hours of fluorescent lighting. But I said yes. That's where this begins. This is the story I've never told anyone. Call it, I was changing a bulb in her kitchen. She said, "You light up more than this room." She said it like it was a joke. Playful. Maybe a little flirty. But I swear to God, something in the way her eyes darted away after told me she wanted to mean it more than she did. And then my phone buzzed. A text from my older brother, Mark. The name alone tensed my shoulders. We weren't close anymore. Not since the family blew up. Long story short. Secrets, lies, and one hell of a Thanksgiving dinner 4 years ago ended with my mother crying into a burnt pie and my father revealing he had a second apartment for meditation. Yeah, right. Mark's text said, "Did she tell you yet?" No context. Just that. I froze, bulb half screwed, electricity still off. I replied, "Tell me what?" Nothing back. I looked down. Natalie was watching me from the counter. Her lips parted like she was about to speak. But she didn't. Instead, she pulled out 2 glasses. "You want wine?" I said yes, but my hands were trembling now. I don't drink while working, but this wasn't work. Or maybe it was emotional labor, you know? We sat on opposite ends of her tiny living room couch. Music played from her phone. Some soft indie band I couldn't place, but now I'll never forget. Because right in the middle of it, somewhere between a sip of wine and a nervous laugh, she looked at me and said, "I wasn't supposed to fall for you." And I just blinked. What does that mean? Her voice got quiet. I mean, this was never the plan. I thought she meant life, work, timing. I didn't know she meant me. The twist came the next morning. I woke up in her apartment. She'd already gone, early teaching gig, she said. But she left a note on the counter. "Thanks for the light. Last night meant something to me. Please don't hate me for what I have to tell you. N." I reread it 10 times. Then I noticed her phone. She'd left it charging on the kitchen counter. It lit up. A message from Mark. "Did you tell him yet? I won't lie to him anymore." My lungs locked up. I tapped. I know I shouldn't have, but I did. The thread between them was long. Too long. Too familiar. Too many I misuse. Too many "when are you telling hims." Too many photos from nights she said she was grading papers. I sat down slowly, as if lowering myself into pain made it hurt less. Natalie had been dating my brother. Before me, maybe during me, maybe still. That evening I confronted her. I didn't yell, didn't break anything. I just asked, "How long?" She didn't lie. That was almost worse. She said she met Mark first. Thought it was casual. Said he told her we weren't close. That I wouldn't care. She said I was the one who made her feel safe. That I was the one she fell for, not him. "But why didn't you tell me?" I asked. She just looked at me and whispered, "Because I didn't want you to stop lighting up the room." That was the moment I realized she wasn't just hiding a past. She was living in it. And I was the afterthought. Have you ever been in a room full of light, but felt like you were drowning in shadow? That's how it felt leaving Natalie's apartment that night. Like I was walking out of a life I had imagined, into one I didn't recognize. The city outside looked the same, but everything felt warped. The streetlights, the coffee shop where we had our first accidental date, the parking meter where she once kissed me and laughed because it felt cinematic. They were all still there, but I wasn't. I was someone else now. Someone who realized the woman he trusted was a crack in the mirror, not the reflection he thought he saw. I didn't go home. I drove for 2 hours without music. Just the hum of tires and the sound of my own heartbeat pressing into my temples. I ended up at the only place I knew would be empty that late, the office. I unlocked the back door and walked into the stillness of drywall samples and unfinished contracts. My desk lamp flickered when I turned it on. I stared at it, wondering how long that bulb had been dying, too. I sat in the dark for hours. My phone buzzed maybe 3 times. Natalie, then Mark. I didn't answer either of them. By Monday, the office was a war zone. Not externally. No one knew what was going on. But inside me, I was unraveling. My boss, Tom, pulled me aside after lunch. "You all right, Elliot? You've redrawn the same stairwell 3 times. I lied. Didn't sleep well. He nodded. Happens to the best of us. Tom was the only guy I respected in that place. Mid-50s, gruff voice but kind eyes. Treated his interns better than some people treat family. He patted my shoulder. Take a few days. Get your head back. You're good, Carter. But something's eating you. He had no idea how right he was. Back home, I avoided the mirror. I didn't want to see my own face. I kept playing her voice in my head. You light up more than this room. It wasn't a compliment. It was a sedative. Something she said to keep me from asking questions. A sweet lie to dim the truth. But then came the twist. Not from her, but from someone I hadn't spoken to in years. My mother. She called out of nowhere. We hadn't talked since the Thanksgiving disaster. Since Dad's confession. Since the night Mark told me, "Some lies make life easier. Don't dig, Elliot." But now Mom was calling, crying. "Mark's been saying things," she whispered. "About you. About Natalie." My throat tightened. "What kind of things?" She hesitated. "That you stole her. That she was his and you knew." I dropped my coffee. The mug shattered across the tile. Couldn't breathe. "That's not true. I didn't even know they." "I believe you," she interrupted, voice shaking. "But Elliot, there's more. I wasn't going to tell you this, but I can't hold it anymore." She paused, and then she said something that twisted my entire world backward. "She's not just his ex, Elliot. She's the reason your father left." I froze. "What?" "She used to come by the house. 2 years ago, before any of us knew who she was. I thought she was one of Mark's clients. Your father saw her once, they spoke. That week he moved out." I sat down. "Are you saying?" "I'm saying," she whispered. "Natalie was tangled up in this family long before she ever touched your kitchen light. Couldn't think. Couldn't move. The woman I thought I loved wasn't just a liar. She was woven into my family's unraveling. This wasn't just heartbreak. It was history. Puzzle I hadn't even known I was part of." And then, as if she knew I was finally seeing the full picture, Natalie showed up at my door. I opened it. Her eyes were red, but her voice steady. "I didn't come to explain," she said. "I came to confess." She sat across from me in silence. Then slowly, like someone peeling their soul apart, she said, "I met your brother at a therapy group. He was charming, sweet. We dated, but he was broken in ways I didn't understand. And I made it worse. I didn't speak." She went on. "Your father, he and I never had an affair, but he saw me once with Mark during one of his breakdowns. He pulled me aside, told me I was a mirror to everything Mark hadn't healed, that I'd destroy him." Tears slipped down her cheek. "I asked him if I should leave. He said no. He said I needed to stay until Mark let go. But instead, your father let go." I leaned back, breath shallow. "Why didn't you tell me?" She laughed bitterly. Because you were the only thing in my life that felt simple. A long pause. Then I whispered, but I wasn't simple. I was yours. Her eyes met mine. I know. And that's when the truth finally detonated. I asked her, did you ever actually love me? She didn't answer right away. She just said, you were my light, Elliot. But some of us were born in shadows too deep to escape. Then she walked out, and I didn't stop her, because for the first time, I wasn't sure if the person I'd loved ever existed at all. After she walked out, I didn't move for hours. I just sat there, staring at the door like it might speak. Like maybe, if I stayed still long enough, time would rewind itself and I'd go back to the moment I said yes to helping her change that damn bulb. Because that's the moment everything cracked. The moment her world and mine collided in a way I'd never recover from. The days that followed blurred together. I ignored calls, skipped work. Tom texted once, you okay? I didn't reply, because how do you explain to your boss that the woman you loved was the matchstick that burned down every lie your family ever told? And it wasn't just Natalie. It was Mark. It was my father. It was every silent dinner, every family photo with fake smiles, every holiday where truth was wrapped in tinsel and buried under casserole dishes. I thought Natalie had torn something apart, but in reality, she just pulled back the curtain. One night, maybe 4 days later, Mark showed up. No warning, just his Audi screeching up the curb like he owned the whole damn street. I opened the door with my jaw tight, my chest boiling. He didn't waste time. Why didn't you call me back? He snapped. I wanted to explain. I stared. You mean lie? He scoffed. I never lied to you. I just didn't think you needed to know. My voice was low. You knew I was seeing her. He shrugged. Not at first. But eventually, I said. And you let it keep going. His mouth twisted. You think I planned this? That I liked watching her choose you? My hands clenched. She didn't choose me. She used me. A silence heavier than thunder followed. Then, quietly, he said, she was never mine to lose. But it killed me watching her become yours. That's when I realized this wasn't about Natalie anymore. This was about the decades of quiet war between me and Mark. The golden sun versus the silent one. The one who broke things, and the one who cleaned them up. We weren't brothers. We were reflections of our parents' failure. Natalie was just the mirror we both smashed. Mark sat on my couch like it was still his house. Then he said something I'll never forget. You always think you're the good guy, Elliot. But maybe you're just the one who doesn't get caught. I blinked. What the hell does that mean? He smirked. Mom never told you, huh? And then, calmly, as if he were talking about the weather, he dropped a truth that pulled the last rug out from under me. She's not your real mom. My mouth opened, but no sound came out. What? Mark leaned back. You were adopted, man. When you were 2. Mom couldn't carry after me. Dad didn't want another kid. But she did. They never told you because, well, you were always the quiet one. Easier to lie to. I felt the world tilt. The room spun. You're lying, I whispered. He shook his head. I used to think it didn't matter. Until Natalie came along. Until I saw how different you were. Calm. Steady. Like you didn't come from the chaos I came from. I stood there, frozen in place, like a statue of someone I didn't recognize anymore. Mark grabbed his keys. You think Natalie destroyed something? Nah, bro. She just turned on the lights. After he left, I searched everything. Old letters, family files, photos where I looked just a little too different. And then I found it, in a locked drawer of my dad's old desk. A file. My name, adoption certificate, date, January 15th, 2001. I was born to someone else, raised by strangers who turned me into a shadow of themselves. The woman I called Mom was just another lie wrapped in love. I don't know how long I cried. Not the loud, dramatic kind. The quiet kind. The kind where your body shakes and nothing comes out. Because what do when the people who raised you never told you who you were? When your first love is tied to your last lie? When you're not even sure whose pain you're carrying anymore? I went back to Natalie's place. I needed closure. answers, anything. But her apartment was empty, gone. No forwarding address, just a folded note taped to the door. My name on it. Inside, just one line. Some lights aren't meant to stay, only to show you what was always hidden. That was a year ago. I'm not the same man who held that light bulb above her stove. I know now, light doesn't fix broken things. It reveals them. And once you see the cracks, in people, in families, in yourself, you can never unsee them. But maybe that's the beginning. Maybe the only way to start again is by finally standing in the dark, unafraid. There's a moment after everything collapses, after the lies unravel, after the people you trusted vanish like smoke, where silence becomes your only friend. And in that silence, you finally hear the voice you've ignored your entire life. Your own. After Natalie left, after Mark shattered the floor beneath me with that single truth, I was adopted. I fell into something I can only describe as weightless grief. Not the kind where you cry every day. The kind where you don't feel anything at all. I still went to work. Still walked into that office. Still answered emails. Redrew blueprints. Nodded at Tom when he asked if I was getting back to normal. But inside, I was a room stripped of all its furniture. No warmth. No purpose. Just echoes. Until one rainy Tuesday, I went to visit her. The only her I had left. The woman who raised me. The one I now knew wasn't my birth mother. I found her on the porch, trimming a dying plant like nothing had ever cracked between us. "Hi, Mom," I said. She looked up slowly. "Elliot." She didn't smile, didn't cry, just let her hands fall into her lap. "I was waiting for you," she said. We sat in silence for what felt like a whole season. The wind moved through the porch like it was holding its breath. And then I asked her the question I'd avoided since the moment Mark opened his mouth. "Why didn't you tell me?" She didn't flinch. She looked me dead in the eye and said, "Because I wanted to protect you from the story that nearly broke me." She told me everything. About the years after Mark was born when she lost 2 pregnancies. About how she begged my father to try again, but he refused. About how she secretly signed up with a private agency. About the day she met me. A scared little boy who refused to look anyone in the eye. "I knew I couldn't fix the world," she said. "But I thought maybe, just maybe, I could make yours safe." My chest caved. "Why didn't you think I could handle the truth?" Her eyes welled up. "Because the truth didn't feel like love. And that's all I ever wanted to give you." We cried together on that porch. For everything we'd never said. For the broken father who left. For the son who was too quiet to scream. And for the boy she chose not by blood, but by something much deeper. By intention. Weeks passed. I started writing again. Not for work. Not for anyone else. Just for me. Letters to Natalie I'd never send. Journal pages about my childhood that suddenly looked different through this new lens. One night, I opened a drawer and found the bulb I never finished changing in her kitchen. I held it in my hand like an artifact. And that's when it hit me, the real twist in all of this. I had spent my whole life trying to be the light for other people. Natalie, Mark, my parents, my coworkers. But I never once asked, who lights me up? The answer wasn't a person. Not a woman. Not a brother. Not even a mother. It was truth. That brutal, sobering, skin-peeling truth that strips away illusions and leaves you raw. Because sometimes truth doesn't destroy you. It introduces you to the real version of yourself you've been hiding from. I'm 27 now, and I'm not in love. Not in the romantic kind anyway. But I'm in love with something else. Peace. Stillness. A morning where the sun hits my apartment floor and I don't feel like I have to perform for anyone. And sometimes, when I change a light bulb or turn on a lamp, I still hear her voice. You light up more than this room. Only now, I don't hear it like a lie. I hear it as prophecy. Because what she saw in me, what everyone saw in me, wasn't brightness borrowed from love or family. It was something I was born with, even if no one ever told me. Even if I had to lose everything to see it. So if you're listening to this, and you're standing in the ruins of a truth you didn't ask for, let me leave you with this. You don't need someone else's love to be whole. You don't need their honesty to find your own. And you don't need their light to shine. Because the moment you finally choose yourself, choose healing over repeating, truth over pretending, silence over begging, that's when you stop flickering. That's when you start glowing.